Nobody can say that ancient Egypt is not fascinating. A history spanning thousands of years, all having their own unique stories shared around. The one in particular we will have a look at is from the 19th dynasty. This dynasty is very well known for one particular ruler, Ramses II, who lived for so long that nobody could really dispute his divine status. And yet, when you have someone like him, there must come harder times after his death. Today's story comes from those harsher times, when pharaohs on the throne were just sitting ducks for somebody else to take over. During Seti II's reign, when this story originated, a part of Egypt got taken over by Amenmesse, who was of relation to Seti, either a brother or a son. Some people speculate that the tale may reflect this conflict and show who should really be on the throne. Anyway, just like with the contendings of Horus and Set, I'll do my best to keep this YouTube friendly. There is some wackiness going on, trust me. My name is Zairi, and I hope you enjoy. The Tale of Two Brothers. Once upon a time, there were two brothers. The older one was named Anubis, and the younger one, Bata. Anubis had his life figured out. He had a house, a wife, and took care of Bata as if he was his father. Bata in turn worked really hard for his brother. Bata worked mainly with his brother's cattle, sleeping in the barn with them and taking them out to the pastures. Because there lay the brother's secret. He was able to understand what the cattle was saying. Anubis didn't know about that, he was just satisfied that his cattle is the best looking one from the whole land. One day the two brothers worked together on a field, having some laughs and enjoying themselves. But then Anubis realized that they didn't bring enough seeds. He sent Bata to their house to fetch them and return quickly. But at the house someone was waiting. The wife of Anubis was sitting down plaiting her long hair. Bata didn't even bat an eye and sent her to fetch him the seeds. She was like, "Do it yourself." And he actually did, that's a first. When he was coming back and passing his brother's wife again, she stopped him, asking him just how much is he carrying. Bata, who was very confused at this point, just replied with the exact numbers and wanted to get going when the wife continued praising his muscles and hard work and oh wow how pretty and young he was. She jumped to her feet and grabbed Bata by the arm, inviting him to bed. But Bata was a good brother and immediately declined, disgusted. He said that she better never do that again, otherwise he is going to tell his brother. This terrified the wife. What if Bata will tell her husband? Quickly she smeared herself with grease and pretended that she was assaulted. Later that day, when Anubis came home, he was horrified, demanding to know who did this to her. She told him basically the real story, only with the reverse roles, that she was the victim and his brother the seducer. She demands that Anubis kills his younger brother for what he has done to her. Anubis was furious. He sharpened his spear and waited hidden for Bata to come home. In the evening, the younger brother was leading his cattle back, his hands full of produce of the day. As he was approaching, the first cow stopped and spoke to him. "Be careful, Bata, your brother wants to ambush and kill you. You have to run away." Another cow repeated the same message. And you better believe the cows if more than one says the same thing. Bata, confused, looked sneakily under the door. When he noticed a glimpse of his brother's feet, he realized that the cows were not lying. He dropped everything and ran. As soon as Anubis realized, he ran after him. When Bata realized he may not outrun Anubis, he prayed to Ra Horakhti to help him as his cause is just. And Ra listened. A river full of crocodiles have appeared between the two brothers. They now stood each on opposite sides, staring at each other. Bata was like, "I know you're very angry and I owe you an explanation, but let's wait until the sun rises." So they just stand there until morning. Then Bata told angry Anubis his version of the events, the true one. And to prove that what he was saying was true, okay, so this is the one not very safe for work part, but let's say he takes a reed knife and cuts off his pride, which he then throws into the water, where a catfish swallowed it, and now Bata was growing weak from losing too much blood. A normal everyday morning, I say. Anubis feels bad for ever doubting his brother, who tells him that he must travel to the Valley of the Cedar and not come home. But before he leaves, Bata has one request for Anubis. Also a very common request I ask of my friends on the daily, by the way. Bata asks him that if Anubis were to learn that something bad has happened to him, he should go to the Valley of the Cedar and find Bata's heart, which he will hide in the tallest tree there. And when he gets a hold of his heart, he should put it in cold water, as that will bring him back to life, apparently. And how would Anubis know that something bad has happened, you ask? Well, easy! The beer in his jug will start to foam and froth, signaling him. So Bata went on the journey to the Valley of the Cedar, while Anubis went back home, killed his wife, and mourned alone. Bata arrived in the valley, put his heart into the tallest cedar, and eventually built a house around the tree. One day the Ennead, the 9 great gods, were just on a little stroll around, and they stopped to talk to him. They tell him that his brother has killed his wife, and also seeing how alone he was, Ra had a plan. He ordered Khnum to make a beautiful lady for Bata. She was gorgeous, and she smelled gorgeous, like she was fragrant. After her creation, the 7 Hathors came around, because one is not enough, and forecasted her fate. The woman is to die by the executioner's blade. Not the best fate, to be honest, but okay. Bata loved the woman, and she loved him. But he couldn't love her as much as he would like, because if you remember, he cut off a certain part of his body, which was eaten by a catfish. Bata didn't let her out of the house, as he was scared that the sea is gonna snatch her away, which it did exactly that as she was outside, strolling under the cedar tree. She was running for the house to save herself, when the sea called to the cedar tree to snatch her, but the tree managed only to get a lock of her hair, which it gave to the sea. The lock of the hair traveled far enough to end up in the laundry of the king of Egypt. The lock smelled so good, the king immediately wanted to find the woman it belonged to. Bata managed to defend her for a bit, but the woman was swayed by the promise of trinkets, clothing and jewelry when Bata wasn't looking. The king of Egypt married a young woman and ultimately questioned her about Bata. She didn't say anything else apart from ordering the pharaoh to cut down the great cedar tree in front of his house. King's troops did just that, and unsurprisingly, Bata died. In a land far away, his brother's beer started to foam and froth. Anubis instantly knew what he had to do. In the Valley of the Cedar, he found Bata's body, but it took him another 3 years to find the heart, which he eventually mistook for a pine cone. But anyway, he put it in a bowl of water, and just like those little bathroom animals, it grew in size. Bata's body began to jerk and twitch. Anubis held the bowl to Bata's lips, and he drank the heart back into his body. And Bata was alive again! The brothers embraced and talked throughout the night to plan revenge on Bata's wife. The plan is truly something. Bata is to transform into the prettiest bull anyone can imagine, and Anubis is to come into the king's palace and give the pharaoh the bull as a gift. The plan worked perfectly, and Anubis was even rewarded with silver and gold for such a pretty bull. Little did they know. Bata became the king's favorite bull, and he was basically free to roam the whole palace as he would have a cat. One day he entered the kitchen where his evil wife was. He spoke to her. "See, I'm still alive. Bata, your husband, a man no more, but a bull." The young queen was terrified. She ran to the pharaoh, and on a banquet, when he was in a good mood, she asked him for a request. The king promised to grant it, whatever it was. And so the queen demanded the bull to be sacrificed, and that she wants to eat his liver, for some reason. The pharaoh did exactly that, but as the bull was sacrificed, 2 drops of blood flew from his neck, and where they fell down, 2 magnificent persea trees grew. This was a wonder to be celebrated, and even the king and queen rode out to view the trees. The pharaoh sat under one tree, while his wife sat under the other one. There, Bata spoke to her again like, "You thought you were gonna get rid of me. I know you were the one giving the order to chop the cedar tree down, and now kill the bull." And again, the queen, terrified, waited for the king to be in a good mood again, and persuaded him to chop down these 2 trees and make furniture out of them. The king listened. He promised her after all. But as the trees were being hacked down by the carpenters, a splinter flew into the woman's mouth. And yeah, if you are guessing what I'm saying here, she, as in the faithless wife of Bata, became pregnant, with the child being Bata. 9 months later, the queen gave birth to a healthy son. He has immediately been made a viceroy of Kush, definitely a great honor for a baby, and eventually baby Bata became a crown prince, the king's heir. Once the old pharaoh died and Bata sat on the throne, he had all the officials brought in and he told them the whole story. The faithless wife was brought in and judged before the court. Then Anubis was brought in and Bata rewarded him and made him a crown prince. So after Bata died with 30 years on the throne, Anubis ruled after him and everything ended happily. The end. A lot of "this is totally normal daily occurrence, what do you mean you can't get pregnant from a splinter of wood" in this story, but I thought it's really cool. I always find the resolutions of the problems really surprising, and Anubis and Bata have a nice relationship in the end, which is really sweet. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, a like and subscribe would mean a lot to me, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye! And also, I open a coffee shop, so if you ever want to have something drawn by me, feel free to have a look. I would really appreciate it. Okay, bye!